let these folks over here who are talking to customer service try and wrap up before we get started. My name is Melissa Cahoon. I'm the area manager for Aqua for our central division, which basically means I oversee our Kankakee County and our Will County divisions for both water and wastewater. And then I want to thank, we have a ton of members of our team with us today to also answer questions if you guys have any questions in regards to water quality, source water protection. We have our engineering department, Craig Blanchett. He's our president for Aqua, Illinois. Standing next to him is Keith Mahalan. He's a head of engineering. Then I've got Colton James standing back here by the door. He's our director of operations for Illinois. Mike Stone. He runs our water treatment plant in Kankakee, so that's where you're now receiving your water from. Kelly Hodges is customer service manager, and then with her are Jillian and Georgina. So Jillian and Georgina is back there. She just kind of poked her head around the corner. So they're with our call center. And then Cindy Munger runs our University Park division. So Cindy's sitting way in the back at the table back there. So I want to send a big thanks to everybody who took time out of their schedules to be here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is the investment that we've made in the water and the sewer systems, the new pipeline that is now bringing softened water to University Park, water quality, we're going to touch on water quality also, the newly approved rates, which were just recently approved in March by the ICC, and then how we're going to calculate the sewer bills. So we got a new method for calculating the sewer bills, which should help. And then we're also going to talk about programs and services that are available for customers who might be going through hardships. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but we've spent a lot of time researching and constructing the pipeline, doing the engineering, getting all the permits that we needed to build a pipeline to University Park to deliver softened water out here. So you can see that we actually started back in 2013, and then the timeline, you can see how that goes through. At the end of 2017, actually at the very end of November, is when University Park started receiving Kankakee water, the softened water that comes from our treatment plant. So some of the capital investment that we've made, and this is in regards to the rate filing, so this is why the rates did change throughout the whole state of Illinois. So from 2013 to 2018, we made $30 million of investment in capital spending. Capital spending relates to infrastructure, so the pipeline that's in the ground, lift stations, anything related to the sewer, and then the pipeline was a big piece of that also. So University Park Pipeline Project, we did win the best tasting water in the entire state of Illinois, and that was in March of 2017. That's something we're really proud of. You see a lot of pictures through here. We do a lot of source water protection efforts. We're constantly monitoring the quality of the Kankakee River, and all the research and data that we've gathered consistently shows that the Kankakee River is one of the cleanest in the Midwest. And we can talk about bugs. If you want to see bugs, we have lots of bugs up here, and those bugs are the indicators. And that's why we know that that river is still one of the cleanest in the Midwest. And that's where we're pulling from, and that's where you're getting your drinking water from. So with the pipeline project, we reduced iron by 90% for University Park and reduced hardness by 70%. So you really should recognize the difference in the water quality that you are now receiving. Wastewater treatment plant improvements, we've done a lot of those. They're increasing efficiency and improving safety and allowing us to meet those IEPA regulations that we have to consistently meet. Lift station improvements are a big one of those. We have to consistently invest in our lift stations to avoid backups in the system, and we need to reduce I&I, which is infiltration and inflow. So the capital investment, I've touched on a lot of this. Wastewater and water main replacements are a huge part of our infrastructure improvements. Anytime we do any main replacements, sewer or water related, we're digging up the ground. There's a lot of restoration that's involved with it. Cost of the pipeline is extremely expensive. So water, wastewater is one of the most capital intensive utilities that is out there. We also have done a lot of water meter and radio read device replacements. So what we can do now, when you get a new meter in place, there's a new radio read device that goes along with that. So if you're having issues at your house, so say you have a lot of water consumption and you don't think it sounds right, what we can do is actually pull daily consumption from your meter with that new technology that we have in place. And we can look and say, hey, you were fine for the entire month except for on Saturday, your water usage, the usage spiked for some reason. Did you have a sprinkler going? And it'll help you identify some of those issues. And then we've also done expansion at the water treatment plant. You can see some pictures of the water treatment plant. This big picture over here, that's a big circle. That was the newest investment that we made at the water treatment plant. So that increased our capacity by 12 million gallons a day. So I can now push out, or we can push out, 30 million gallons a day out of our water treatment plant in Kankakee. And that actually allows for, we've done a lot of presentations, industry. If the industry wants to relocate, that's incredibly beneficial because we can say, hey, yes, absolutely, we have the capacity, we have good water quality, we can accommodate the growth that may be happening. And then the last thing on this slide is we have over $5.36 of investment for every dollar of revenue that's generated. Basically, all that's showing you or telling you is that most of the investment that we're doing is related to capital investment, which immediately benefits the customers and improves the reliability of our systems. O&M expense, so operating and maintenance expenses, that's not capital related, so that's your chemical costs, stuff along those lines, labor. So we've been able to hold those to an average of 0.7% annual increase. And we've recognized savings in our electric, interest, transportation costs were our main areas that we do recognize savings. Our O&M expense per customer is $285. O&M to revenue is 30%. Basically, that means 70% is going to capital investment. So the main point that we're trying to show with this slide is, hey, yes, we are investing in the reliability of our systems and improving them, making them better for future generations. This is just a picture of the pipeline project. So just gives you an idea of the construction, restoration that's involved with installing the pipeline. And you can actually see back here where Colton's standing, right behind them is a map of the pipeline. So you can see how far we went with that pipeline. This slide is your water quality comparison. Main things are highlighted on this slide. So at the very end, and you guys probably all have this handout, these first 5 wells, they're labeled 1 through 7. That was the water quality of what University Park used to have, so those are the wells. And we would pull from several different wells that was all combined, and then it was pumped out to the community. This last column here, it's labeled Kankakee. That is what your water quality is currently. So that is the water quality that is coming out of the Kankakee water treatment plant. And so you can see with the hardness of the Kankakee water varies from 130 parts per million to about 170 parts per million. Right now it's about 130, so it's pretty soft. The wells were anywhere from 400 to almost 700. So that leaves the buildup on your faucets. Iron is another big one, so iron is now at 0.06. Previously it was up to close to 0.8. So that's the yellow ring that you'll see possibly on your tubs or your toilets. So now getting into rates. So these are the rates that were approved. So what this is going to show you is average customer uses about 4,500 gallons of water a month. So that increase that University Park is feeling right now is $34.52 per month on the bill. So that's about $1.15 per day. And then this breaks down what the cost of your drinking water is and what sewer is. So drinking water, you're still paying about $0.01 per gallon for treated, softened water in University Park. And for sewer, it's 0.014 cents per gallon to treat the sewer. Some of the potential ways that you can offset the increase that just recently happened was eliminating water softeners. So this is a huge one. A lot of people are still using the water softeners. They don't trust the water, so we're trying to do public outreach and education on that. I live in Kankakee, I've never had a softener. I love the water quality. My whites don't turn yellow. Water softeners are huge, well, I won't say huge, but we've had, if Stephen Yates was here, he's one of our FSRs, he'll constantly call me and say, hey, water softeners can malfunction and they'll run, and they'll consistently regenerate. Customers don't know that, they don't realize it. Their bill can be 20,000 gallons for that month. So we're really recommending, hey, disconnect or bypass that water softener. If you like it, keep it that way. You won't need it. If you don't like it, by all means, you can reconnect it. Savings on salt. So if you remove that water softener, you're going to save on salt costs. And bottled water. I've had a lot of people, I would love to hear more people tell me, hey, we stopped buying bottled water. I'm a big environment person. When I looked at bottled water and all the plastic that we throw into the garbage, I prefer to drink tap water. That's my personal preference. I know I actually just recently ran into one of our guys who retired, and him and his wife traveled for like 3 weeks. And he gave me a big hug, and he goes, Melissa, I'm so happy to be back in Kankakee. This is the best water. We have the best water, best employees. So, you know, we take a lot of pride in that water quality, the taste of it, what we're putting out to the community. These are the approved rates. So you guys all have this sheet in your hand also. What I would recommend you do, everybody uses different amounts of water. So when I look at this sheet, I live by myself, but I fall into this category. I use about 3,000 gallons a month. So look at your water usage on your bill, and this will give you an idea of the impact that you'll feel, the increase for your water bill. So again, this column shows you the gallons. This was what your, I should have changed this. This shouldn't say current. This is what your old rates were. And then this is what the new approved rates are. And it'll show you the monthly increase and give you an idea of the impact that you're going to feel on that water bill. Water and wastewater. So with the rate case, we consolidated the entire state of Illinois. So now everybody's paying the same rates. Kankakee pays the same rates as University Park does. We have what we call our Northern Division, McHenry County. Everybody pays the same rates. So if we wouldn't have done consolidation, the average combined bill for water and wastewater here in University Park would have increased by almost $60, $58. And that's nearly $20 per month more than what we were requesting. The other thing with the rate filing is there used to be what we call a CLIPS charge on there, which is a qualifying infrastructure plant surcharge that went down to 0%. Again, the filing date covered 2013 to 2018, and it takes about 11 months to get approved, so in March, our new rates were approved. This is a comparison of local water rates, just to give you an idea of what different communities are paying. So most of them, if you look across the graph, are above $60. It looks like most of these communities are in the $65 range. Some of them are close to $70. If you look at Park Forest is close to $70 per month. The other thing we filed for when we did the rate filing was we needed to change how sewer was calculated. We had a lot of complaints on sewer bills because what happened was whatever you use, your water usage, you would charge the same for your sewer. And when you see those summer months and people are irrigating, possibly if pools going, whatever the case may be, you were getting charged for water that was not necessarily going into the sewer unless you had put in an irrigation meter. So what happens now is winter average is going to be, so your sewer bill is going to be calculated off of what you use in the winter time. So for the months of December through March, we're going to take that average usage and we're going to say, hey, that's what we're going to bill you for in the summertime, unless you happen to use less. So I'm not going to read all of this to you. You guys actually have a sheet that has this exact same information on it. But what this page shows you is, we'll take the first example. So we took the winter average. So this particular customer, here's the December, January, February, March usage. We took the average, which is the 2025. So they use, well, they happen to be billed the 2025 for each one of those months because it was less than what they used for that particular month. This one, the average usage was 6,200, but in June and July, they actually used less than what that average usage was, so we bill you the 5,800. We'll bill you the lesser amount. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask us afterwards. Some of the other factors that affect rates and why we go in for a rate filing, regulatory requirements. So those get more strict every year. We have to be able to meet those, and in order to meet them, it usually requires quite a bit of investment. And then conservation is another big one. So year after year, we see usage decline. And that just gives you, these numbers here just give you an idea of what we've seen. So in 2010, average usage was over 5,000. 2017, it dropped to 4,500. And then for those customers going through hardships, what we can do is we have budget billing. So I believe Nightcore, maybe ComEd offers it. If you want to pay the same amount every month, you can call customer service and they'll kind of calculate, all right, this is what it looks like your bill would be if we spread it out for the whole year, and they'll say, maybe it's 170. So they can do that for you. Payment arrangements are also available. You can call customer service. If you know you're going to be late, you can't make it, they'll set you up on a payment arrangement. We do have late penalties for low-income customers. And then this one I'm actually going to probably ask Craig to come up and talk to, because he's been working really hard, and I believe this has been approved, is the customer assistant plan. Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been working on for a better part of a year and a half now is a customer assistance program. Kind of like if you get your Nightcore bill, it says like add $1 on there for sharing. I think ComEd has the same thing. And it's where customers can get a tax-deductible contribution to donate money to the Salvation Army and then administer grants to customers who are low income, right, or have some challenges in their life. And so this program is getting ready to roll out literally in days. We're getting ready to roll out. It's called Aqua. You'll be getting some information on it for sure in the mail. But really it's a cooperation between Aqua and the Salvation Army, very similar to what your other utilities are doing, Nightcore and ComEd, to help customers who really truly have a need and can't afford to pay their bills. There's some criteria that go with it. You get one grant within a 12-month period. You have to have a good payment history. There's some criteria that go through that. But the Salvation Army vets all the candidates, works through the qualifications with them, and then beyond that, Salvation Army also can offer other assistance, even beyond our Aqua Aid program, that might be able to help the customers. So it's really about getting them in and getting them the assistance that they need. So look forward to that soon. Again, we're going to get ready to roll out here in a few days. I had a meeting today and we talked about getting it rolled out, getting it communicated, and getting folks familiarized with how our program is going to work. But it could take a few weeks to get it out, get it to the public, everybody to see it. So please look forward to that. Any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. And then the last thing on the slide, if you have any questions regarding customer assistance or questions on your bill, that's the customer service number. It's 877-WATER-AQUA. Water Smart Alerts, I always want to put up here. Every presentation that we've done, I really stress this. Water Smart Alerts, please register. You can go online or you can call customer service to register for it. There is also a sheet on the table you can take with you. What this is going to do, if we're flushing, we're going to call you and we're going to notify you that, hey, we're flushing in your area. When we flush, there's discoloration because we're cleaning out those mains. So you don't want to be doing laundry when we're flushing, or you want to watch for that. The other thing we're going to notify you of is main breaks. So if we have a main break and our pressure drops below 20 psi, We need to notify every resident that, hey, you've got to boil your water. But keep in mind, when we notify people of that, it's usually a very small section. I think the most recent main break that we had in University Park, it was probably only 11 residents. So please do not share on Facebook unless you get that phone call, because it's not the entire community. And we've had a lot of issues with people sharing and people think it's the entire community, when that's definitely not the case. So what we do when we invest is we put in valves. We can isolate that main break so the entire community is not affected. Some of our goals, Aqua goals, we always want to make sure that we're providing a quality product and a quality service to our customers. We always, every main replacement that we plan, we want to look at our reliability. We want to make sure we're improving reliability. If we need to increase the size of the main, we want to do that. If we want to improve fire protection, it's another thing we're going to take into consideration. And then water quality. Water quality can be another big issue. So those are the areas where we want to address our main replacements. We want to make sure we're providing quality jobs when we do that investment. Promoting public education is a huge one for us. We do a lot of education to the schools. I know just recently I was at actually it was young kids, it was like 2nd through 6th grade, and they're trying to educate the kids on, hey, what jobs are available. So starting early. We'll do that, we'll do source water protection. We want to support economic development, and we want to continually invest in our communities. This is just our awards, so we do a lot of work. We're doing a lot of good work. Best tasting water, I highlighted that in red. We are very proud of that. We did win the best tasting water in the south suburbs also. We won that for 2 years in a row. Don Deno, who's not with us, he's a water treatment plant operator. He actually won Operator of the Year. Which was really neat. It was his 40-year anniversary. He won Operator of the Year, and we got the best tasting water. So it was a really great year for us in 2017. So yeah, you can just read through those. A lot of them are actually, there's boards up here with a lot of the awards that we won. So with that, we will take questions.
The rate, how long is the rate that we're on now when I do? Is it set for a certain time period?
We don't have a certain time frame, but what we did is we want to stay out of a rate filing, and Craig Colton can correct me if I'm wrong, but we want to stay out for 8 to 10 years. We don't want to go back to the ICC, and when we do go back, we want to keep that under 10% when we request an increase. And what drives the increase is the investment that we're making in the system. So if I've got to do a huge expansion at our water treatment plant to, say, some industry wants to come to University Park and they want to pull 6 million gallons a day, that's going to require investment, and then that's going to drive probably a rate filing of some sort.
Would the Amazon affect that?
No.
Because that's no need. You guys supply water.
We don't supply the water. We do treat the wastewater, though, for Amazon. And no, that didn't, our wastewater plant can accommodate that. That did not require any additional investment.
One thing too, Melissa mentioned before about the rate consolidation and what the rates would have been had we not included this division in with the rest of the state. The same is also true moving forward. So folks that have been a part of that consolidated rate structure, the rates that folks in University Park are now paying, that people in Willowbrook or people in, say, Danville that have been paying for 6 or 8 years. In places like that, they had a very small increase because they already paid a higher rate. So and moving forward, because you're part of a really big group, the system is willing to absorb capital and things like she talked about much more easily, and you have much smaller increases. In fact, I think our Danville division, we averaged less than 5% increase. Willowbrook actually had some rates go down. But again, it's all based on the cost of providing the service. And everybody in one big system, it's no different than your gas company or electric, right? If you have a transformer that blows out in front of your house, you don't have to pay for that. It gets spread across the entire state, right? And it's a very, very small amount for the entire state. The same thing this works with water utilities now. So a great consolidation will really help us not only stay out of rates for a longer period of time, but when we do come in for rates at some point in the period, there'll be much smaller increases, single-digit increases as opposed to double-digit increases.
Are you looking for more rate increases? How long, about 4 or 5 years down the road?
Well, the plan is to try to stay out of rates. Last time we stayed out of rates for 6 years. Okay, that was the last time we had a case was in 2012. Our goal this time is to try to stay out for 8 to 10 years. So nothing can happen without an ICC rate proceeding and a case before the commission, and the customers and the village is notified of that. Our hope is not to do that for a very long time.
Okay, also, I just wanted to say too, since December, I noticed a big decrease in my water bill. I'm Bernice O'Brien. They remember who I am. But I saw a great decrease, and I have noticed I stopped using my water softener since in December when Melissa said to stop. So I stopped using it, and I do see the hardness is gone, the rust and the smell that comes through your house. When the sewer is backed up or whatever, that smell is not there anymore. I don't have to clean my toilets often now. And I saw a big increase since the new water. I don't have any complaints. I know my bill now is going to go up to like $124, but that's nothing. It's a bill I'm loving to pay because we have good water now. I don't mind paying for what I can use. See, before we couldn't use the water. You know what I'm saying? I'm paying a higher bill, and I couldn't use the water, but now that I have good water, I can use and pay the bill. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Where I live on Landau Road, the water still smells, and we do not drink the water, and my bill has increased. So, perhaps I should go and live where she lives so that I can experience the same thing, because I'm not experiencing that. Still a very awful smell. And I have not experienced any difference in my water.
Do you have a filter?
I'm Mr. Lawson, and I live on 517. And she's right, I just got the bill the other day, and it's almost $200. I don't know where you live. Right. Well, I'm just saying, you say yours is 124. Mine was $200.
No, it ain't 124, I got it.
Okay, well, that's what you said.
It was $88, but it's just going up to 124.
Well, mine almost 200. We're not watering anyway. So I don't know. That's a big difference.
Right.
Last month it was 124. And my bill today was almost 200. So I mean, what is that?
Well, and I think for those specific, instances, it's probably good to talk to the gals over there and try and figure out what your water usage was, because all of your bill is driven off your water usage, right? So if you get some sort of leak, or if you have some water that you're not expecting to be using, but you're using, that's where you can get
But
really
we pretty
caught.
much monitor our water bill, check the usage in the gallons. We do that, almost every month. And I would say, well, maybe it's the rate increase this month. Maybe that's what happened. Is that it hadn't taken effect, right?
No, it took effect. The rate increase was March 16th is when rates took effect. So this sheet, if you take this home, it sounds like your usage is probably over 5,200. So here, this was the old bill. So at 5,200, you would have been at $96. This is the new rates that were approved. New rates, it goes up to $135 for the 5,200. So I would look at your water usage on a monthly basis and really keep track of that.
Something definitely is wrong then, because we have to cut down on using water.
You know how much you guys know how much you use? I don't know without. And let's have a check it out here. Let's see before you go, because if it's if you're using 7,000 or 8,000 or something, well, yeah, you're probably going to have a $200 bill. But if that's the case, you probably got something else going on. You should check it out.
Right. Well, one quick point that I wanted to bring up was your comment. So if there are any odor issues, those are things, please call us, because we may need to either flush, but also there could be something inside the plumbing that we might want to discuss, because if you have an old filter, or if you haven't disconnected some of your water treatment systems, there is a chance that that's not helping, right? Because the water is fantastic water coming up here. We just want to make sure that if there is any sort of issue that we are flushing and we are making sure you're getting the freshest water that we can. So keep us in tune with that so we can come and check it out.
And then you also mentioned that you received a lot of awards. I want to know who gave you those awards and why they didn't talk to me.
Right.
Before they gave you those awards.
And that's fine. So we won the South Suburban Best Tasting Water, and then we went and competed competed on the state level on AWWA, the American Water Works Association of Illinois, and then we won against, there was Peoria, Decatur, there was all the big towns, and we ended up winning that last year.
So
This
where
year-
does the customers come in? Because it seems like you're not listening to us.
So this is a taste test, and it's based off of a panel of judges. So it's not like a survey-wide, countrywide thing.
It was held in Springfield.
Right.
And Star, the other thing too is, again, I don't know what he's saying is, I drink the water, I live not far from here, I have the same water, and it gets to my house, it's exceptional, right? If it's not getting your house that way, you're paying for excellent water, you should get it, right? So let us know so we can come out and check it out. Brian and his team are going to be flushing next month. If in your area we're having an issue, we can do extra flushing, right? We can kind of try to problem solve and find out what the solution is. Because you should get the best water because you're paying for it, right?
Oh,
And,
absolutely. I've been paying a long time
So,
for it, but I haven't gotten it.
but we want you to make sure you communicate with us because if you don't know, we can't help. So you're good about communicating with us and coming to meetings and things like that. But if you have to, give us a call and send somebody out and check it out.
When did you last flush the area out here? Pretty close to where they live. And I don't remember putting in new pipes. The amount of water is going up that we use, and there's only 2 people in my house, and my water usage is going up, and I'm not using any more water than I've always used.
Okay, so we can look at the water usage, so I would need to look at your bill. I don't know what you're using, but we can look at that. So I would get a better idea if we can look at customer service. Brian O'Keefe walked in, so Brian O'Keefe is in charge of distribution, so our entire distribution system. I'll let him answer on the flushing. And then in regards to pipe replacement, water main replacement, we can't replace all the main in the system. That's just not feasible. So what we do is we plan certain projects throughout the year.
But if the water, and I've been in this area where I am for quite a few years, and if the pipes are the same that's bringing the water through, and you're not flushing often, you're going to have that residue there, and we're going to have the rust.
Right, so I'm gonna hand it to Brian O'Keefe. Well, he's got the microphone. I'm gonna let Brian O'Keefe answer that one for you.
We flush up here at least once a year. Last year, we flushed around the college area 3 different times. And typically, when we're up here, it's usually the end of July. It's usually the end of July or right at the beginning of August when we're up in this territory. Some of you may have gotten the notice that we were up here flushing, like Melissa mentioned before. The Water Smart alerts are great because they notify everybody. There's a couple of other things I kind of want to touch on a little bit. If you're near the end of a line, a lot of times you might experience a little bit of that discoloration a little bit more. But if you give us a call, we can always bring fresher water or cleaner water into those areas and flush some of that residue out of those pipes. But we will be up here flushing this year again, probably right at the end of July or the beginning of August. And again, as Melissa mentioned, if you call customer service, and Craig said, we want to make sure that you guys are getting the product that you're expecting, and we can take steps to kind of get some better water towards you, especially if you live on those dead ends where end of cul-de-sacs, things like that, where you don't have a lot of services that come off of those lines.
Okay, now you're saying that we should call and we should do all of this. If you are doing as much improvements as you say you are doing, and if you're following up and being proactive, we shouldn't have to go through these changes. You should be on top of that because you don't ask us about the money. We don't call you about the money. And I think you should, be proactive when it comes to giving us quality water. I've been buying water out here for almost 30 years. I'm still buying water.
Yeah. No, I think I can answer that. So it's not really a question, I know, but so when we change the system around, we're feeding it differently than we used to feed it. Right, used to be wells all around the system. Now it's being fed from one source. And so there are some pockets in the system that might act a little differently than they did before when we had the changeover. And so if you let him know about those, then he can put it on his list as something he can attack and address all the time without ever having to bother you again, right?
He must be caught up in the pocket.
You just have to know where those situations are. For instance, if Star's got a spot where she's at a dead end and it's causing her an issue, you have to address that. You can also put it in this capital plan to find a solution for it, so you never have to worry about it again. But if nobody ever tells us about it, it might be different than it was before, and it takes time for us to find it. We'll find it, but if you tell us, it'll be a whole lot faster. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'll expand on that a little bit more. So we flush once a year. That's maintenance, that's normal maintenance for any water system. What a lot of our communities will do is, Brian O'Keefe knows some of our problem areas, and like he mentioned, dead ends. We want to try and loop those in. You can't do all of that in 1 year. So again, that goes into a plan, a capital investment plan. But when we know about those areas and people tell us, he'll flush. He has certain areas where he might go out once every 2 months and flush that area to keep that water just a better quality than what might be getting there, instead of it sitting in the pipe. So we would ask that you would help us with that, because we won't know unless you don't call us. We're just going to do our normal system flush, and unless people are telling us, we don't know. So please do call us.
Yeah, and everything that we do, we generate work orders for virtually everything that happens in our territory. If you call, what we can do is we can generate a reoccurring order that we can stop and we can check those things out just to make sure, if we have to flush that area 2 or 3 times a year, there's certainly no problem with that. We can automatically generate those orders to come out and do that. But a lot of times it's easier, more beneficial to you when you start having those issues and you start seeing them again. Just let us know and we can send somebody out and we can kind of flush those lines out. And again, it's really those territories that I think you're going to experience the worst problem is when you have fewer customers on the longer lines. That's really where we wind up with those issues. But again, if you let us know, we can always generate recurring work orders so we can take care of those issues.
Lolita Rogers, my question is, we have about 5 different wells. And when our neighborhood next door did a survey to ask, since the change of the water, how effective was it? It's popped all over our town. Some people said they had great water. My area, I don't have a problem. I can see the change. Other people in another area said that it still hasn't changed. So is it something to do with the different wells? How do you break it up in a territory that some areas the water is fine, but then some areas the water is still bad?
So in the past, right, we had all those wells sort of working together into different zones, and they would pressurize the system, and you have to think of it kind of like an organism, right? So if something would happen over here, everything would sway that way, and it would be doing that all the time. If you actually model the water within the pipes, they dance a lot. Now that we have one single source, it's basically finding a good path and starting to really grind it down. So over time, the water will kind of move the same way, and it'll get comfortable. And then from there, you'll notice which spots maybe need more flushing, which spots need other things. But really, I don't want to use big terms like hydraulic modeling and understanding how the water age differs in different areas with velocities. But it's really just something where we're trying to figure out which areas have higher issues, and then we're proactive about fixing them. But it could be certain areas where we need to do some looping. We keep talking about that, and that just makes sure that the water doesn't stop, right? That it's always moving and flowing around. If you have an area where it stops, it can sometimes go stagnant, and that's areas that we like to flush and move through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I'm still going back to the 5 different wells. Maybe this territory is well too, and it's perfect.
We don't have wells anymore. Wells are
okay.
Yeah, so all the water now comes through a big pipeline from Point Key. So everybody gets exactly the same water no matter where.
Okay, so then maybe for right now, we need to continue to flush, not just this once a year type of thing. Maybe we need to flush it constantly for a while until we go and get on the same page. I don't know. Maybe.
Do you call the same customer service to call come out for the problem?
Yes. Yeah, and so when I talked about investment, like pipe size, when we plan water replacement, Some of the pipes might be smaller, so maybe you have a 4-inch pipe that has some buildup in it, because this was hard water before. If you looked at well 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7, hard water, you might get a little buildup in those pipes. So that's where we plan the water main replacement. So again, kind of goes back to let us know if there's a problem area, because as we flush that, we're going to see it. We're going to see what's coming out of the hydrant. The other thing we can identify is we can say, hey, we opened this hydrant. There is no issues with this pipe. There may be an internal issue that you have inside of your home. So it'll help us kind of troubleshoot those areas.
Okay. Okay, what I have noticed is a pressure. The pressure is not as high in my area. And I've also noticed that when you turn the faucet on, the first water that comes out of it, you get a gulp of rust. Right. Now, that shouldn't be. And I am not open to once a year flushing. I've lived in this community a long time, and I know you're a different company from where you were before, but we flushed a little more often. My other complaint is, I think I would like to see those, is that the sewer pipes in the parkway? What's in the parkways? You know, the pipes that are in the public parkways?
Well, there's all, the water, the storm, and the sanitary all run in various places within the parkway. So
Okay.
I probably have to have a little more
information? These pipes are constantly breaking, and it's such a nuisance. And you got a breakage here, and you repair that, and you get another breakage down the street, and you're constantly tearing up these parkways. Why don't you just replace these old pipes? It's such a nuisance, it tears up the community, it makes it look bad, and these are your pipes. And they need to be, there are certain pipes that were put in at certain times that are not of a certain quality. And I really think you need to address the pressure, and you need to address runoff of some more of that, because I get a big gulp. I get ready to take a shower and I gotta wait along, you know, a little bit till that gulp of rust is out of there. And that same kind of thing can be hitting the clothes. Now, some people depend on whether or not you lower ground level with your pipes or above. Some people are higher, some are lower. If I had a 10-foot basement, my it's lower. If water comes into my house, it's coming in at a lower. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but your pressure is not up to par. I had a man come out once, he didn't even have a pressure meter with him.
Well,
I'm not happy. Mr. Dodd, do you see the same thing?
I think I mentioned to, what's her name? Cindy, about, the pressure. We look close to each other, and I think the pressure is a little lower than 615 Old Ford Lane, that area in there, because I know my pressure's not the same either. And our houses are simply about two blocks, 2 hours down from me. So the pressure.
And you were up a little higher than me, and I'm lower.
Right, so when we switched from those separate wells into one central source, right, those separate wells would feed into the system in different areas. That process would pressurize the system, right? There's also a tank that would naturally fill and then press down during the day. So since we've adjusted where the water is coming in, we boost that water from Kankakee, and there's solid pressure, and it fills the tanks, it does a great job, and it actually gets boosted into your system. But you're going to notice some local changes because the water coming out of that well is no longer having that higher pressure, it's not pushing, and that's why you're starting to notice a bit of a difference throughout town. Certain areas are going to notice slightly lower pressure because you don't have the same, probably, well pushing all the time, while other areas are going to notice a more consistent pressure because they don't have that fluctuation. You kind of see it.
They cannot be adjusted. I mean,
we could always try to adjust pressure, but you got to remember. Exactly, it's a system change.
Well, I think I'd like to get the addresses to look at it, right? Because all the pressure is gauged off of the water tower height, right?
Right.
And the water tower is the same height as it was before. So if there's a pressure issue, it could be a little
valve or something that's broken closed or something, that wasn't an issue before we had wells, but now it's because we have the
A
same
valve on
source.
your side, that might say,
You know,
right?
on my side,
Right.
right? It could be, so if we can find out.
Be like the Buffalo valve?
You know, like a valve in the main, right, in the street. So, you know, if you're, like Cole was saying, if you got two wells, one on each side of the subdivision, they're both pumping one way or the other, right? And you did do away with one, you're only pumping one way now, but there's a valve between the two, and it's closed or somewhat closed, that could cause you some pressure issues. So, I don't think it's a pump issue, because it's the same kind of pumps that we pump with all the time, and I don't think it's a tower issue, because the tower is the same one I was at before. But it could be a hydraulic flow issue, and that's way above my pay grade. That's gonna be one of these guys over here that looks at that. So maybe before you leave today, could we give them your address and we could just check it out? Because it sounds like both of you had it in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. And one other thing you talked about, that little bits of iron, right, that
Yeah.
comes out at the beginning. So since your system was on wells that had somewhat elevated levels of iron for a very, very long time, the system is going to naturally cleanse itself over the next while, right? And it's just
What's
because
while? What does while mean?
you have to understand, over time, the pipes develop a calcification on the inside, right? So if you looked at the pipe, there would be a little bit of a ray on the outside, and it's that red iron, oxidized iron. What we do is, over time, we systematically replace pipes to remove that. But since there's not, there's a little bit of, like, I'm going to say dissolving, very small bits, but that'll get caught in certain areas that don't get used a lot, or get used a lot when the water stops. And that's why you see that little red spot when you're turning it on in the morning. Over time it'll get better, but as of right now, since this has been a recent change, it's just something to kind of expect as the system regulates itself. Does that make sense? I can get into like really kind of nerdy science about this.
It doesn't do us any good.
You know what?
Mary, like on yours, so here's one thing we could do is, if we could have Stephen or somebody come out and check it out, because I get the same water you get, and I never have any red come out, and you shouldn't have any red either. So let's have somebody come check it out, and let's let them look at it and try to find out, because I did have red in my house when I first, not the house I'm in now, but the house I used to live in, when we first switched over to Aqua in the community I live in, I live in Mantino, and it was because it was the new water source going to my hot water heater. My hot water heater was full of iron from before when we had the wells, okay? So let's have someone come out and take a look at it, kind of diagnose what the problem is, and then we'll get you the answer. Because the house I have now, I don't have that issue. And the house I used to live in didn't have that issue either. So you should never turn on your faucet with our water source and you get red water.
Oh, of course not, because I don't want to run off 2 or 3 gallons just to get rid of it.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. And just to build up on what Craig said, and great point, because I wasn't even thinking about it. If you do have discolored water, one of the first things, if Kevin Culver was here, he's our environmental compliance guy, one of the first things he's going to tell you to do is check your cold water. You don't ever want to turn on your hot water when you're looking for discolored water. You want to turn on the cold, because that's what we're feeding you. Your hot water is going through a different system that's internal. So turn on your cold. If your cold is okay, and it's only on the hot water side, you want to flush out that hot water tank.
Hi, my name is Christopher. I'm a resident of Rosedale. I have not lived here for 30 years, but I have a lot of family that has came in and moved out of University Park. I'm now a homeowner here, will be here almost 10 years. I just want to say thank you because I do see the difference. I'm 6'4", so I have a big tub, and I used to fill it up, and I used to see the yellow water and everything. That water is clear. The hot water spots in my toilets are gone. My clothes are softer, and I can even say I washed my car about 3 weeks ago, and it dried by itself. I didn't even have to wash the car down. There was not a hard water spot. So I just want to say thank you. I understand what we're paying for, and I just hope that over time that everyone can experience what we're experiencing, because I do see the change. I just want to say thank you.
Hi, my name is Val Johnson, and I've been out here since '79. So I've seen the water bill go from $7 a month to even now. But the sewer charges, and that's what I don't understand, the sewer charges. You know, and I tell some of my friends that live in other communities, their water bill is included in They said, oh, we only pay every other month or something like that. And they said, well, if you water the grass, I say, no, it's cheaper to buy more grass than it is to water it. But my point is, I was told by two people, one from Culligan and one from Aqua, not to get rid of my water softener right away. Does that make sense? They said, hold up on it. And what Culligan did was come out and dial down the salt usage. And so it wouldn't regenerate as much. But they said, hold on to it. Because I was going to give it away. I had a plumber that was going to come take it out for free. You know. But they said, hold up. Don't get rid of your water softener. And I'm getting ready to go through my, speaking of water heaters, I'm getting ready to go through my 4th water heater. And they're getting expensive. They're over $1,000 just to put in and remove the other one. It's shortly after the switch over to the water, my water heater started popping from probably sediment in the bottom of from the old stuff.
I did that too, yep.
Yeah, and I noticed it happened only with the hot water, so I knew it was the hot water heater. And I called to have it drained, and he said, forget it, don't drain it. He said because he could drain it, but the sediment that's in there is probably, and it's not that old. That's the thing, that's how much junk is going in from the old water. So I'm willing to get a new water heater, but I don't want the mess to still start coming through.
No, I replaced my water heater last month.
Yeah.
But it was 17, 18 years old.
But my main thing is, I was told not to get rid of my water softener just yet. If you can dial down the regeneration, so it won't regenerate as much, dial down the salt usage, but just to wait until, because I've had water outage since you put in the pipeline. They turned off everybody. They turned off people that they shouldn't have turned off. And it was in Park Forest, the breakage. It was a line breakage. I called Aqua, they didn't even know about it.
In Park Forest?
They said the water main went out in Park Forest somewhere.
We don't go into the Park Forest.
But they shut the water off in University Park. Yes. They shut it off and the businesses had to shut down. The liquor place had to shut down.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. We can check and see. I'm not familiar with that part.
Well, Aqua came out and they apologized, and one of the guys, he said, we're sorry, they shouldn't have shut you guys down. They shut down everybody.
Well, if that did happen, I apologize.
Yeah.
Because I'm not aware of that, and that, no one should ever be shut down. I know we can look into that, but
I mean, there was no water coming out at all. So I called the neighbor across the street. She said, I don't know. She turned it on. She said, no, I don't have any either. Then she said her husband came in, and the people up at J&J and all that, they had to shut. Right. Yeah.
They have our operations folks look into that and see if.
It was temporary, and then they got us back on. They got us back on, but it was a mistake. That was an error. Whoever shut it down, they shut down. But they said the water main break was in Park Forest.
Well, it's a good opportunity to bring up the water smart alerts again. Because if we do have a breakage, what we're going to do is, as soon as we can possibly get it out the door, which typically the process is what happens, we get a call from a resident or public utility or police department, fire department says, hey, you got a water main break or you got a leak here. First thing we do is we investigate to find out what's happening with that leak. As soon as we determine what it is, then we immediately dispatch a crew for it, and we also create what's called a boil water alert or an outage alert, and we notify everybody who is within our system and gets those water smart alerts. That way you would know, so if you didn't get a call and you are signed up for water smart alerts, it would likely not have anything to do with us, because we are very disciplined about making sure that we notify everybody. When I say discipline, I mean if we have one person out of water, we do a swift mutual alert for even one person. So we want to make sure that we're notifying everybody as soon as we possibly can that there's an outage in your area, if there happens to be a boil order, what a potential time frame is for making sure that that water is restored. Try to keep good communication. So in this instance, if nobody was notified, I would be very surprised if it had anything to do with Aqua at all.
Who can control my water going on and off if it's not up?
Yeah, it could be a contractor, it could be Public Works, it could be the village. There's a lot of possibilities because those valve boxes and your curb boxes, things like that, they are accessible. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was Aqua, but in general, Aqua would be the one who is in control of your curb box or your turnoff.
Can you tell me when is the next scheduled flushing for University Park?
July to the end, August, right there, right at the end of there. And we will go through everywhere and we'll flush every single hydrant.
Okay, and sorry, I've been dying to answer the water softener question. You said someone from Aqua said, hey, don't disconnect it. That was probably Kevin Colbert, and what he was trying to tell people is, hey, keep it connected if you would like, see how you like it, and then bypass it. I disagree with that statement. I say bypass it immediately. See if you like it. Most people are going to like the quality of that water. So I think everybody in this room would say, hey, bypass it, see how you like it. I don't think there's any reason to keep that connected. Again, there's a lot of issues with water softeners. They can continually regenerate. They're going to use a lot of water. They're going to increase your water bill, and you're going to pay for that salt. So I'm not an advocate of water softeners.
Also, too, you have to see if you're going to like the water or not. If it's doing you justice for you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to turn it off in order to see that. And that's what I did. I just turned mine off and been watching for the last couple of months. And it's
Well, I guess, I don't know, I've been out here so long and I've seen what the water has done to galvanized pipe. So, you know, so I have to wean myself into it. And I'm still buying bottled water.
10 grades, right?
I'm sorry.
Yes, 10 to 11 grades. And that I understand. It's been very hard water for a long time.
I'm talking about the big bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, and for Culligan, I don't have anything against Culligan. They're trying to make a profit. They're trying to sell their water, so it doesn't.
No. I'm not buying water from Culligan. I have the water
softener. Correct.
It's been paid for a long time ago.
Okay.
Okay? A bag of salt is $6.
Right.
It's not as expensive as you think. The salt is more expensive now for the softened water from Aqua than, softening before. But it's not the water softener itself. I could bypass and shut it off.
And that's what I would recommend if you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I think if you can control it, right, I think if you can control it, you're confident doing that, that's fine. Because I have another system way up in northern Illinois where people up there love it at 8 grains and we supply it at 10. So they like a little bit of extra softening. Probably what we're sending to you in softened water is way softer than most people are softening with their softeners with the hand softeners, right? But having said that, it's still, as Kevin said, it's an individual preference. I got a chance to softener in my house. That was pretty when I built it. It's unhooked. It's not even plugged in, right? But that's my preference because I know I'm getting it at 10 grains. All I would say is that if you choose to keep it, do like you're doing, like manage it, and so you know exactly what you're getting. Because unfortunately, there's so many people out there that don't know how to set it or turn it down, and they end up wasting money because they got it turned up and it's regenerating or doesn't need to, and it costs them money and they're dissatisfied. As long as you have a good grasp on it and you got it tuned the way you want it, there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, I just replaced my water softener last year, 2017. I replaced with a new one. It's costing $1,200. And then I found out in December that when it's getting the water, I don't know what I was thinking about. New water was coming, but I replaced it. But I turned it off in December when we had a meeting, and I turned it off, and from then on, I didn't have to do the water. So I'm going to sell it later.
I would recommend so. I bought one for my dad. He has very hard water. He's got a well, and yeah, people will purchase them. I know I purchased one for my dad.
Right here.
I live in University Park, up off of Sullivan Lane, and I survived that year when you had to tear up the street 3 or 4 times to put in the new lines, and we all got new lines, and they moved the fire hydrant, and I asked the guy when he was putting it in if they were going to put the flag on it so that the snowplow would know that there's a fire hydrant there. They painted it last winter, no flag. And the snowplow hit it 4 times. Now, who do I see about somebody? Because every time he hits that hydrant, he's knocking around the pipes and the whole thing.
I'd find out how your snowplow driver is, but,
He's not as good as the old guy.
we are, I'll tell you what, this year, what we're doing is, and actually I just submitted a plan to these two guys. One of the things that we're trying to do is we're really doing a comprehensive study on all of our hydrants. And one of the things that we're actually paying very close attention to is the flags.
Good.
Now, we've got flags in areas that couldn't possibly get covered up with snow, and there's no possible way that somebody could miss them being there. So do those really need a flag on? Probably not. But when we get into cul-de-sacs, dead ends, where there's vegetation along the side of the road, street corners, intersections, things like that, we want to make sure that we got flags on all of those hydrants. So,
Who do I see about having a flag put on this hydrant?
Dr. Man,
You.
yes, sir.
Good, after the meeting.
You stop and see me, I'll get your address and we'll
I
take a
watched
look.
him hit it.
Now,
I heard him hit it. The
Yeah.
old fire hydrant had a flag. They tore up the streets. It's all summer long.
Are you on a cul-de-sac or?
I'm on a cul-de-sac, but I couldn't get out of the cul-de-sac without you guys having to fix another couple hundred feet, another couple hundred feet. It broke under some lady's driveway and it took out all the paper blocks. You went the entire Sullivan Lane fixing that pipe. Beautiful, but the fire hydrant moved 2 feet, it still sits between two trees, and he kept nailing it. There's no place to put snow, you pile it in somebody's yard.
Yeah, if you're in a cul-de-sac, that's an easy one. In fact, on Sullivan, we're gonna be up here, again, cul-de-sacs, every hydrant on a cul-de-sac will have a flag on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I like solving those problems.
Hello.
But you know what, I do want to kind of mention a couple of these issues, like the dirty water coming out of the tap, the hydrant flag. Those are issues that really, if you call our customer service, they're going to contact me. We're familiar with the area, we know what's going on. If we don't know about it, we can't address it.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that everybody understands, call us, let us know. That's basically what my role is as a problem solver. And if we have an opportunity to hear about it, we'll be more than happy to take care of it. Or at least look into it and do everything we can to get it taken care of. Yes, ma'am.
The lady,
She's been waiting.
oh, go ahead.
Hello, hi Melissa. My name is Deborah Taylor, and basically I can say that.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Basically, I can say that I have had positive results since you guys have changed the water. However, I'm a 34 resident of University Park also, and I am still reluctant and hesitant to actually consume that water myself. And I'm trying to figure out what have you guys actually done to make me feel more safe and secure and ensure that I'm okay in actually, drinking the water. I've done other things, but I have not drank the water.
So what would it take to convince you that the water's safe? I drink it. Is that what it is?
Did you drink
I don't know, that's why I'm asking
it?
what are the changes that that make can tell me that, just make me feel better about actually drinking it. I just can't seem to get it right.
So I think everybody in a blue shirt probably has Aqua water, other than you, who's just walking down. Right? So everybody here drinks Aqua water. Like we have it in Antino, we have it in Bourbon A. So we all drink it. We don't treat it. We don't do anything to it. It's straight out of the tap. My 2-year-old boy loves it. Gets all excited about drinking water. Right now he's into OJ, orange juice. So it's been a little different. But all I can tell you is it's award-winning water. It's treated to the highest standards. We bought new treatment systems. We have a very regulated treatment process. I mean, it's about as highly, maintained as it can be. So I'm here to help. Here's the okay. The standards by which we're held by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency are way more stringent than the FDA and most right? Most times bottled water.
Most times bottled water comes just from a municipal source, and they run it through a filter, and then they put it in the bottle, and that anyway, right? So, other than close to your boy drinking it, right? The fact that we're held a much higher standard than the FDA holds water suppliers to.
and it's tested rigorously. Mike Stone, the gentleman over here on the back table, he's the gentleman in charge of producing and treating your water each and every day. Every drop of water that comes to this community goes through him, right? He's responsible for it. So, and we're actually, he's from Peatone, and we're actually acquiring and going to send this same high-quality water to Peatone as well. And I really doubt that we'd be doing that without someone like him running the plant.
So just to say something else, so this water here came right from our plant today, and my wife loves when we have these things because I take this jug home, and she wants this water. We live in Peatone, we have well water, and she's like, bring that jug of water home after the meeting so I can drink some good water. So I can't make you drink it, but my wife is begging me for this. I can't wait for it to come to Peatone.
Okay.
And Deborah, I'll just throw in, being responsible, we're essentially, everybody in this room is responsible for the health and safety of about 80,000 customers. That's not something that we can take lightly. We bear that responsibility, we accept it, we own it. And we take a lot of pride in the quality of water that we put out. Even before with the well system, it was drinkable water. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I was just in Indianapolis for the weekend. I tasted the water. I almost spit it out. I did drink it because I do have a lot of faith in a public water supply system. It tasted completely different. This, in my opinion, best tasting water that I've had in all the communities that I've been through. And again, I can't say enough as to how much pride we take in the quality of water that we're putting out, in the system maintenance that we do, because it's not only putting the water out and treating it, it's maintaining that system so we can get it to your home.
Yeah, my question was, Harvey did it, you mentioned about the water softener disconnecting it. I have a whole house water filter that has been saving my hot water tank tremendously based on it trapping all the sediments in it. Do I continue using that too?
No.
You say no?
Yeah.
Why do you say no? What is river water not containing that the well, I know it's, the numbers are down,
right,
but the sediment level in the river water is trapped at the plant?
Right, so what's in your water now is completely different than the wells. So you had high, what they call total dissolved solids. You had high hardness, right? These are all things that can get into your water heater and cause some problems. Since you have river water now that has been pushed through our very fancy coagulation treatment, none of that's there outside of the very little that's left on that board, right? So in Mantino, that's where I live, I had a friend of mine who had just bought a new house and had a whole house filter. Right. And it's been there since whenever the originals trade over was at Mantino. I don't know how long ago. Yeah, 2007. They asked me, hey, do I need this whole house filter? And I said, no. And he goes, what do you mean? It's here, it's free. I was like, you're just going to spend money on filters, and it's not going to improve the water. So you don't need...
It's not trapping sediments.
There's no sediment. We do it at the plant. So,
well, I know, because I know when I take it off now, before the water that we get now, it's brown in there, so you're telling me that, I mean, it won't be as bad as it was before, is what you're saying.
well, I think what you're kind of saying is there's nothing wrong with having it. It's an added layer of filtration.
Oh, right.
If they're willing to maintain it, we're saying this.
Well, I'm only concerned about the hot water heater. You know, that's a trouble. When that goes out, then that's a lot of work to do it. If a little filter is going to keep you from changing a hot water tank, which it has done so far.
Yeah, and I think up to this point, you probably needed it, right?
Yes.
I venture to say there's very few whole house filters in these systems that we run in Kankakee County. Same with the softeners, right? Because it is very high quality. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's it's working, but it's an added layer of maintenance that we quite frankly think that you won't need.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm Kankakee Water. I think my hot water heater it's probably 15 years old. I've never flushed it. I've never done anything with it. So I haven't had any issues.
Well, mine is 10, so I want to get 10 more if I can.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I have too.
Now, what I would like to know is, can I take this bottle of water home with me and get some water out of the tap? Would that tap water be the same as this?
Yes. Unless you have an internal issue, it should be exactly the same. That's the water that comes out of our water treatment plant. It's the water that goes to your home, goes to my home, goes to Craig's home.
I always tell customers this, all the water in our service territory comes from the same plant, just like that. If it doesn't make it to your home just like that, there's a problem, you need to identify it and fix it for you.
I'm sure it's not making it.
Well, then, we need to have
I'm sure of that.
We need to get your address and have someone go by and check it out. It's very easy to have someone come by and work with you and try to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
I heard Melissa talk about going to the schools and discussing jobs with the children. And it made me think, what kind of diversity do you have at Aqua?
I don't know our diversity numbers, but
I asked that question the last time and you didn't know, so I think we're old in answer tonight.
Yeah, diversity is really big with Aqua. In our employment ranks, one of the
Because
things
it doesn't show today.
Well, it doesn't show today, but we have a lot of folks other than us here, right? We have a lot of folks in our company and working with us. So a couple different things. One is we have some positions open right now. And one of the things that I've asked my team is that before we hire for that position, I want to make sure that we interview at least 2 diverse candidates, either women for field positions, minorities, or veterans too, right? And so we're working at that, and that's something that we're looking at doing. I think across the state, we're about 10% diversity. Our Danville division is about 13% in diverse employees, right? The other thing that we're working on is vendor diversity. One of the things that the Illinois Commerce Commission works with us very closely on is they're very adamant about diversity as well, and having the people who work in our systems, whether they're Aqua employees or contractors, really representing the diversity in the systems that we serve, is reporting on diversity to the Commerce Commission and the vendors that we use, the people that we hire to work in the systems that you live in.
But those percentages wouldn't really mean much if you don't know how many employees you have. 10% of what?
Yeah, we have 100 employees in the state. And so depending on women, minorities, veterans, those are the categories that we track and we report on for diversity. We have a lot of women in our management ranks. In fact, I think Melissa's one of the highest managers in the state. We have another manager in our northern division. Down in our Danville operation, again, we have the highest percentage of diversity at 13% of their total employment count. We're not big like ComEd, we have hundreds and hundreds of employees, we have 100 in the whole state. But it is a topic, it is something that's important to us, and we're making efforts to continue to improve upon our diversity.
Other than women, how many African Americans do you have?
Within our ranks, I can't say right now. I can't say to the state. And I wouldn't be able to say with the call center either how many there are, because the call center falls under a different umbrella than I do. But
2, I think there are 2. I met somebody else, maybe 2.
Oh no, we got more than that just in our Brian and Mike's department.
This is your sample, random sample.
So out of 53 people in our call center, half are African American. So once again, we're working really hard to attract candidates, and right now we're in the interview process for the University Park operator. We have an opening, and we've been working, but today we've only got 30 applications, and that's kind of where we find ourselves. A lot of people don't know about the water and wastewater industry, and because of that, we just don't really attract a lot of people. So it's a tricky place in our industry. I think it's easier to maybe, fall into different trades, but water and wastewater people just don't really think about.
Actually,
sorry.
One more thing. Actually, Keith just hired an employee, and when we hired that employee, I actually met personally with the local Hispanic partnership, as well as the president of the NAACP, to see if they had candidates internally that might like to apply for that position as well. And I'm happy to provide those references if you'd like to call and talk to them. But it's important to me, it's important to our team, but it's a community effort, right? Because I've been with those folks trying to get applicants to come in. We have a hard time getting applicants for any job, let alone folks that fit in diversity.
Where are you advertising?
Online at our website, all different kinds of HR, monster.com, and all these other
Like career builder, that kind of stuff.
And building off of what Craig said, that's actually exactly the point. You mentioned, hey, you said you do outreach with schools. When we post a position, we don't have a lot of open positions that come open. We do have one right now in University Park, but in Kankakee, I know when we have positions that have been open, I do reach out to the president of our NAACP, who's the Otis. We reach out to the Hispanic Partnership. It is very difficult to get candidates. One of the issues is people don't want to work in the elements. They don't want to work outside. They don't want to be in a hole when it's negative 30 degrees. It is a very hard position to fill, and it's a very difficult position to be in. This past weekend, it's 95 degrees outside. It's not a comfortable position to be in. And, you know, like I said, hats off to Brian and his crews and his guys who are out there every day in the elements. It's not, well, they like it. I would say it's not fun, but it is something that we do try to do.
That position, do you need a water license?
You will have to get one. You don't need it when you come into it, but absolutely, if you work in the water industry, we don't expect you to have one when you come in because you can't get it unless you work in the industry. So we do the training. Brian's guys will all get that water license. The guys at the water treatment plant are all required to get a license, and that's through the IEPA.
I'm sorry, I wanted to revisit the water softeners. Once you close that valve, that keeps the fresh water from going through your softener system. So by leaving it plugged in, it basically doesn't allow it to purge water anymore either, right? You know how when your softener would regenerate, there was a certain amount, and I'm sure it wasn't a small amount of water that would just be purged, right, out of your system.
Yeah, I think you have to look at your individual system and what you have. I know my house, like the valve was turned even before I bought it. The valve was turned, it goes straight through, completely bypasses the whole unit, and then goes up the wall, right?
Right.
And yours might be different. You might still have to run it through there, but it doesn't regenerate.
Well, we had replaced ours about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, but and is it true that the newer ones monitor the water nonstop to determine how much they have to treat it, whereas my older one may have just treated it regardless of doing testing, right?
Yeah, I think they are more sophisticated. I'm not an expert on the softeners, in-home softeners, but I do know when I used to have my old house, it did whatever you told to do, it did, no matter what. You had to put the water coming in, right?
Right.
It generated at a certain time every day, it generated for a certain amount of time, no matter what. And the newer ones, I think, are a lot more sophisticated.
And what about under my sink in my kitchen? I have a reverse osmosis tank along with a separate little spigot where some people would have a spray nozzle. Mine had a spigot that we would get our drinking water out of. You know, in a reverse osmosis, you know, the tank under the sink. Do you just eliminate that or leave that in place?
I would, but once again, I think the water is treated to a high enough standard that RO is a really neat technology and it requires a lot of energy to force the water through actually to the very smallest degree, right? It's a fabulous technology. It also requires a lot of waste because it's usually a 50% back, what they call rejection rate. So you're actually using a lot of water when you use it. And it's just because of the process that it happens. So it's up to your personal preference, right? If you like the water that way and you want to keep paying for it, go for it.
But you know, it's a small tank, it's under the sink, and really, you know, you basically use it to feed the dog bowls and drink water, you know.
Right. Okay. I'm going to pause for just a second. If anybody has questions on billing issues, we're going to lose access to our system in about 10 minutes. It shuts down at 8 o'clock, which is why I had this ending at 8. So if you do have any billing questions, please run over to customer service. They can answer those before 8 o'clock. And sorry, I just wanted to get that out in case you guys did have questions and wanted to get access to your bill.
Okay, I just wanted to say that in a climate of Flint, you want to be careful that you're not just telling us anything. You know, Judge Millian said, you know, I wouldn't believe if your tongue came notarized. Because people have suffered. We're suffering now. And we've suffered for years with this water and now with this rate increase. Senator Sue Resin, in a news article, stated it so clearly that Aqua, a private company, is getting this new system on the backs of the taxpayers. We're paying for this, and now you say you're going to try not to raise the rates for another 8 to 10 years, and then you tell us, well, the water is so good, and but then you want me to do some work. No, when I buy a new system, and that's what I've done, we have bought a new system for Aqua, a private company, who, if you look in this room, the diversity in this room, we can't even have jobs with this private company. I mean, come on, let's be real. Don't come here and tell us some hogwash. Lay it out straight. Be honest with the people. I think for years you have not done that, and now you're tiptoeing so that we don't get belligerent about what you're doing to us. Now, your question is, well, what are you doing to us? Let me tell you what you're doing to us. You are giving us these high rates. Some people have good water, some people don't. And then you tell us, you're telling us that the water is good, and if it isn't, to call you or whatever, and no, come out and flush it on a regular basis like you should. Do what you need to do for the new system that I bought. I bought the new system. Don't turn around and make me do work for it. You need to do that. And you need to have your ears open to what the people in the village are saying. I think for years you've ignored us, came up with this rate, and then you started having these meetings. You have not been fair to all of the residents here. And I want to put you on notice that you have not done that, and in the future you should do that. You should come out and flush this water on more than what someone said, more than once a year. I mean, there's an issue. If my water is not good and somebody else's water is good, you already know that there's an issue. You are the experts. Don't turn around and try to treat me like I should be the expert. I'm angry because I'm not the expert. And I don't know until years later that you done screwed me over.
Can I respond now, Star? If you don't want to call and tell us when you're having an issue, you do not have to call and tell us when you're having an issue.
You already know I have an issue.
I know you have an issue because you're telling me right now. If you wouldn't be here tonight, I wouldn't have known you're having an issue. So I don't think that that's fair.
The people have bought a new system. Aqua is a private company. The people have. Do you all understand that you have bought a new system?
I do.
Do you understand that?
I do.
Aqua is a private company. The House passed the legislation. The Senate, has the Senate passed it? The Senate has passed the legislation. You have a new system. Now, when I purchase a new something, I want it to work. That's what I'm saying.
Star, so, and I'm very familiar with Senator Resin. I've met with Senator Resin before. I'm very familiar with that. But when we talk about subsidization, Melissa just did a presentation that said without the other customers in the state absorbing the cost of this pipeline, you'd be paying an additional $20 more a month than you are now. And so if we want to get into rate making, we want to talk about numbers, I'd be happy to sit down with you and explain the numbers. Because the residents of University Park are getting very high quality water, and the cost of it is being absorbed by other customers in the state that aren't getting high quality water. Okay?
As far as having a new system, we have put a lot of money in the system, put $30 million into the system in the last 6 years. $30 million, okay? Now, because we're University Park, you're paying your bill every month, but Aqua put that money up front. We'll get paid back that money over 50 years, okay, for that pipeline. 50 years it will take for the customers to pay us back, okay? Now, that's a business. We get regulated returns on that, well, that's completely legitimate. But you're paying for the system as it goes. We paid for it up front. Now, we made a commitment to provide high-quality water. We will. And every issue, we will find. And if you don't want to report it to us, you don't have to report it to us. But we will find it. It'll take us longer to find it. It'll take more money to find it. Every cost is absorbed by the customer. And so if you're having areas where we have issues, like your issue, that's the first time you heard about that. We'll go talk to Keith afterwards and we'll see if we can figure it out. But we'll eventually find that issue. But after you go a long period of time with lower water pressure, maybe some red water, maybe a smell or something like that. And if we can head it off at the pass and get it fixed for you sooner, communicating, that's all we're saying. We just want to communicate. And you've been at meetings with us before. We're always here. None of this is required. We're not required to be here. The commission doesn't require us to come here. We're here because we want to be here, want to hear what we have to say. Okay? And so if you're willing to give us feedback, we're willing to help get it to be the system that you want it to be, the system we want it to be. But we can't do that without information, at least not in a very time-efficient manner.
Craig. Hi. I'm Trustee Elizabeth Williams, here at University Park. I want to say I've been here since the early 70s. I have seen big changes since then up until now. I think that you all are doing a much better job. Just like the other two people said back here, my tub is clean, my toilet is clean, the water is perfect. I have not drank it. I'm not going to sit up and say I did. I still buy a bottle of water, but I will try it now. So I want to let you know that you have done a good job. The only thing that I have concern about, some of the people here, is the prices. It seems like it was just a whole lot at one time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we feel it, but we're getting better service. And I appreciate you guys doing that. So if you can just ease it up instead of throw it in on us, I think that'd be better. That's what I think.
I think it's important to note on the rates, I understand that, right? I understand, that's why I worked for 18.5 months on this customer assistance program. This pipeline project itself, I've been working on it for 5 years to get the water up here. I've been to board meetings, you see me at board meetings talking about it, and so it's been a long time coming. Are we completely everywhere we need to be? Obviously not. Obviously we're not exactly where we need to be, but we will be, and I think we can be very, very quickly with the right amount of cooperation, so thank you for that comment.
I see the improvements.
I got the mic for you. Okay, I was listening to different concerns that the residents have in the room, which, I hear some of the concerns over and over again. What I'm suggesting, maybe possible or not, but in the next bill, you're saying listen to the feedback, perhaps collect feedback and put together something, maybe it's a short survey or something like that, because I'm hearing hardness over, I'm hearing over. I'm hearing pressure, different things like that. So perhaps if you could put together a survey, then we can kind of like be able to have some data that you can use, hard data, and also be able to detect what areas need different attention.
Yeah, we actually are going to do that. We're getting ready to do a survey. I think it's for the next 30 days we're going to be doing a survey, not only on what's your experience, do you have a softener, not a softener, but also on our communication, okay? We did 3 meetings here last year. Mary, we did one with you, and we did a couple at the village. So we done some meetings here, and we're going to find out not only the service we're providing, meeting your expectation, but the way we're communicating is that meeting your expectation, right? Like, do these kind of meetings make any sense for folks? Would you rather see the bill insert? Would you rather do something like social media? How does people want to hear our message? And so you're going to be getting a survey on that. Hope everybody participates in that and provide us some feedback. There's a spot, I think, for open comment or whatever it is. And so we're going to really look at that closely, because how we did here and what people tell us is how we're going to modify our plan moving forward, at least on communications. Good?
Hi, I live on White Oak Lane, and I just wanted to make mention, I talked with the customer service person earlier, My only concern, I do see the changes, and thank you very much, it is better. I've had 2 water leakage situations, one with just children just turning my spigot on that cost me over $300, and I ended up paying the bill because it was coming out of the spigot where they turned it on, I didn't know. Recently, in the last 90 days, my water bill was averaging about $80 a month consistently for about 10 months or more. And then all of a sudden, I had a $180 water bill. Basically, they said that it was leakage, it was something in my house. They pinpointed it down to 2 weeks. My meter's almost 10 years old. I've talked to them about that. My concern is, as a resident, I know if I have leaks in my house or not, and spikes in my water bill. But in this particular situation, I don't have any leaks in my home, and I have no way to prove it. And so then it becomes, the water uses versus, my word and what I'm saying. And I feel going forward, I think at some point you should look at a 12-month period of a customer. And if there is a spike of $180, there should be some type of forbearance or some kind of consideration taken into place about maybe the water meter was bad. Maybe that's not accurate information. I know you all rely on the meter, but when you know you don't have a leak in your house or running water or anything like that, and you've made all the adjustments you can, I think that there should be some consideration taken for these specific instances so that the customer, because I kind of feel like I don't have any room to move because, it's just what it is and I can't prove it because it's down the sink, you know what I'm saying? So I just wish you could kind of come up with some plans for that because things do happen. If you have a pipe bust, I've had a pipe bust, the water went up. I asked them, was it during this time period? Things you know about, but in this case, it's something that's not going on. I don't know about it. I have no way to prove it. And this is my second instance of that, and I just feel like my hands are tied.
Yeah, a couple things. One is like the instance where somebody turned on the faucet. That happens sometimes, right? And I think it's something like that. You might be able to do the budget billing to kind of level out. That's something that might happen with kids, and that might level it out a little bit over the course of the year. It might be a big jump in 1 month. It would be a smaller jump throughout the whole year. As far as the meter and stuff goes, like Melissa said before, these new meters we have, the new technology. Unfortunately, it'll be when you get your bill, but once you get it, someone can come out and they can read it day by day and say, or they can look at the history and say, oh, it looks like something happened on this day or something happened on this day. At least help you pinpoint it. I used to have a leak in my toilet, and people always say, maybe you have a leak, it's like a classic thing, right? And I used to have a leak in my toilet. It wouldn't happen every time. It only happened every few times, right? And so it's things that we can help check out. And the last thing is that you have rights as a customer to request certain things. And one of them is you have a right to request that your meter is tested, okay? And then what we have to do is we have to take the meter out, and then we send it to an independent third-party firm that tests them and verifies and things like that. And I'll be honest with you, most times meters slow down, they don't speed up, and so almost all the time it comes back where the meter's fine. But it's certainly something that we're willing to do, something we're obligated to do if you really feel it's important.
Yeah, I do, because like I said, I don't think that there is a method for me. And I'm not complaining, I am complaining, but I'm not. If we left the lights on in here for 45 days, you're gonna see a spike in the electricity, slightly. But from $80 to $180, that's pretty big. And I just feel like if you look at something in a 12-month time period and here a customer is paying consistently $80 a month, there should be some kind of consideration to say, you know what, that couldn't have happened. Or, if they don't call in and you had something break in your house or something like that, I can see. But if I'm generally not a person that in the WIP notes and the thing constantly got a problem, I think that should be taken into consideration and we split the difference, is all I'm saying. And going forward, it's happened to me twice. I don't know why the second time it's happened. The first time I took the hit on it, this time I'm like, come on now, I don't even have any way to prove it at this point, so.
Yeah, I totally understand this. In my house, and I can't blame it on the kids, I wanted to water a dead spot in my yard.
Yeah.
So I put the
thing out there, and I went to the house, they fell asleep for like 12 hours, and when they came out, it was like totally a little leak in my backyard. I did that, I was like embarrassed to tell anybody else, but now that I talk to you, I'm not embarrassed to tell anybody, because you kind of had the same thing happen to you, over when the kid mentioned that, right, with the children.
Yeah, the kid did it the first time, but the next
That
time.
happens to a lot of folks, and, you know, it's something we can certainly think about, you know, in certain situations, but really we rely on the customers a lot of times to like, kind of gauge that. So, your point's well taken.
Thank you so much.
Sir?
How are you? Anyway, it is now. Thank you for coming and explaining to residents. I don't know, maybe I was late, I had work, but I have a question regarding, is there any help, like they have Lockheed or whatever for utilities? Is there any help for seniors or discount for seniors or something they can go to Joliet? I heard there was some type of program that they could go to Joliet, take a class, and they would help subsidize their water bill. Did you know of that? Because that question has been asked to me.
Yeah, we don't have the lighting, not like the energy ones do, but one of the things that we was talking about just a little bit ago was a customer assistance program that we're rolling out. It's very similar to what NICOR and ComEd have, where people can do charitable contributions into a grant fund, deduct it from their taxes, and then Salvation Army will on our behalf vet customers, interview customers that are in true need, right, and then they would help give them a grant to help them pay their water and sewer bill. Now, this program, we're getting ready to roll it out. So it's at the ICC today, I talked about it with them. And very soon here, within the next 30 days or so, we should be getting some information out to customers on this program. Both customers that may want to donate to it, and those that may need to take advantage of it.
Okay, that's good to hear, because a lot of people are questioning, is there some type of subsidized program that could help them with it, because some are, fixed income, and just regular working people too. The increase is going to be a big impact. So they were wondering if there's any programs that can help them subsidize the bill.
Yeah, we'll send out some information. This is called Aqua Aid.
Okay.
I think NICOR's is sharing, and there's different ones out there, but ours is going to be called Aqua Aid. We'll make sure people have some information on it, probably in one of their bill inserts, just some your bill inserts.
Yeah, that's important to tell them. Look in the bill. It's real important to read. I know it's a lot of literature that sometimes be in their bills and they throw it away. Like in ComEd, have a lot of information and talk about paying $50 for your refrigerator, but a lot of people don't pay attention to it. So if you like, we will put it on our website, and we'd be glad to put it on our website, and so it can come a lot often as soon as it gets into effect.
Yeah, matter of fact, that'll be a good way to expedite it, because if they get it to you, you can put it on your website, you can see it sooner, because bills take a month to come out and everything.
And our cable station as well, now that we have it back. Yeah. We can put it on there, because you have to keep reminding them of it. We'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Anything else?
Well, thank you to everybody who stayed to the very end. We appreciate it. We appreciate the comments, the feedback, the questions, and we'll stay. Yeah, please take cookies before you leave. We have a lot of cookies that we're trying to get rid of. So thank you.
Can you tell me what channel I go on to get this?